So the next major tasks are to actually make this look nicer, right? And that's really CSS's job. The HTML is to create and define the content. The CSS is what makes it look nice. So let's talk about how we do that. All right, we already have this CSS file here, right? And so we'll just start with some really basic stuff. We'll start with actually creating a background color for our document. So if we go into style.css, CSS looks different than HTML does. And the way that we work with CSS is we essentially declare or state what we want to modify, and then we create some curly braces like this, and then we put in the attributes that we want to affect that thing. So if I'm wanting to create a page background, that's affecting the body of the document, right? All the stuff in the document, right? So body, open curly braces, close curly braces. And then inside of these curly braces, we can put an attribute like background color. Here we go. This is it right here. I don't even have to type the whole thing. Replit will help me out. So I can do background color, and then I can write a color like blue or something like that, right? So we can click blue. Now if we hit run, right now it won't work, and I'll explain why in just a moment. So go ahead and pause, write this, and try it. It shouldn't work, right? So the reason is we haven't actually attached this, our style.css file, to our index file. So to do that, we need to go back to our index.html file, and we need to add a link in there. So not exactly a link like we did with hobbies, but it's sort of similar in some ways. So we put a link to CSS inside of our header, well, inside of the head element. So we have this head section, this head element, right? Inside of here, it can be above the title, it can be below the title, that doesn't really matter. We add in a new element, and this is a link element. Now the link element is self-closing, so we don't need to do another one. Actually, notice it doesn't even understand what I'm trying to do. It's like, what do you want to close the head already, right? It doesn't understand, right? We don't close the link element that way. We close it this way, just like we do with the image that we did here, right? So now inside of this link, we need some attributes. Just like with the link down here, we do an href, a hyperlink reference. So href equals, and then we need the name of our CSS file. So that would be this right here, style.css. It doesn't really matter what the name of the file is as long as they match, right? So if this was called main.css, then we'd write main.css here. If this was called frontpage.css, then this would be frontpage.css. It doesn't really matter as long as they match, right? It has to be able to find it, so that means these two have to match. Now we're not quite done yet. We still need a few more attributes. We need a relation attribute, so it's going to be a style sheet that is the relation to the file, and we need a type, and the type is, it's a text file, and it's CSS, right? That's what's in there, right? And so now, if I try running it, the background should become blue, which will probably make this hard to read, but it's okay. Uh-oh. All right, I'm going to go ahead and reload the page and see if that makes it happy. All right, we still have our style sheet in there, so it looks like everything's saved okay. Run it. There we go. Okay, I don't know why it was angry, but it's fine. So go ahead and pause, write this, and try it. So style CSS, we've got this blue background color, right? That blue is really strong, and I like blue, but I don't want it to be that strong because that makes this really hard to read. So what other colors can I use? We can use colors by name like this. You know, we call them named colors. Oh, stop it. Well, Alice blue is fairly nice, but it's not. Oh my gosh, stop. Okay, let's try this again. I don't want Alice blue. Hey, hey. All right. What I was going to do, I was going to show you how you can basically choose whatever color you want. So you can use name colors like blue or Alice blue, but you can also use hexadecimal codes, or sometimes called hex colors for short. So if I Google hex colors, So maybe I want HTML color.codes. There we go. So we've got this hue saturation value table here, right? So we can move the hue to maybe one of the blue areas, and then I can change this to the saturation and value level that I want. And if I think it looks good, I can grab the hex code right here, Command C, and jump back over to Replit, and I can paste it there. And if I run, there we go. I think that is much easier to read, and it's got a nice color there. So this is essentially how you do things with CSS. You declare what you want to modify, and then you give it some properties. And there are quite a few different ones that we could use. So I mean, I could do a different one. I could, after the attribute, we need a semicolon, and then we can add another attribute. Backgrounds. Maybe we do a background image. And so once we do background image, it's a little different. We don't just say me.jpg like we do with the other things. We need to tell it that it's a URL, and then we open parentheses, and inside of those parentheses we open some double quotes, and inside of these double quotes then we can give it the file name, right? And that's a terrible idea because that is not awesome. All right, so go ahead and pause it and do what I just did. I can delete it and it will be fine. Now, something else to note, if I run this, right, put back the blue background, and if I go to the link, it doesn't happen there, it doesn't work there, right? I added the reference to my index.html file, but I didn't add it to my things I like.html. So I would need to go in and add that to that page as well. Put it in the head, right? And hit run. And now if I click on that link, it should work as well. So go ahead and pause yours and do that same thing. Add this to your other page. All right, so in addition to that, we can target other elements too. We can actually target almost whatever element we want. So we could also target like the h1 tag, right? So we could say, we could do h1, and we could open the curly braces and close the curly braces once again. And inside of here, we can add new attributes. We could add another background color if we wanted to. Background color, and let's see, RGB. We could do maybe a soft green, so that might be like FF, well, no, maybe DDFF, DD, would that be a soft green? Yeah, that'd be a soft green. Okay, and if we run it, now we can see that just the H1 element has a background color, right? And there's other things you can do with it too. So what else do we want to do with this? Maybe we want to change like the font or something. So we can add in color, and this will change the color of the font instead of the background color. So maybe we do like, maybe this is that really strong blue, right? And then if we want, maybe we center it. So to center text within an element, like the H1 element, we use text align, and we can tell it center. And that should work. There we go, right? And of course we could do this for other things too. Now if we want this to be the same for the other ones, we could copy and paste this and say, hey, also apply to, what is that? Is that an H4? Is that what I chose? H4, yeah. We could copy and paste it and do H4. Or we could just add a comma and say this also applies to H4, and that will automatically apply to both. Either way works, right? So go ahead and pause it and do what I just did. So this is just the start of sort of how CSS works, but hopefully that makes sense. And then hopefully you can play with it some more. Let's maybe try targeting this image element. I think the image looks kind of harsh, so maybe we round the edges. So I'm going to target all images, so image, and then open my curly braces. And here, this will be border radius, I think border radius, I think that's what it is. And let's do maybe 10, it's 10px, I think that's how we write it. There we go. Do I think that's enough? Maybe. Let's also add a border itself. So maybe border, and then we can use that same color. I think that soft green would look nice around it. But I also need to tell it how many pixels, and I think I tell it whether I want it to be solid or not, or dash or something like that. So let's try maybe 5px and dashed. Do I like dashed? Let's try it. I think solid would look better. Let's go back to solid. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit nicer. So go ahead and pause it and do what I just did. So there's a ton of different things that you can do with these, right? I could also identify links or paragraphs, right? There's lots of different things that I could do with these, and there's tons out there. And now I'm not expecting you to memorize everything, and in fact, I don't memorize everything either. I often go to Google. When I'm not sure, I just Google stuff. So what else can we do with images? So if I do images, CSS, we can go, W3 schools is a pretty common one that often pops up. You can go here. Oh, there you go. There's the border radius, right? You can see they made theirs much stronger, and it gave them like an oval instead of just the rounded ones. You can see borders, padding, width, right? There's lots of different things you can do with it. Oh, hover. What did their hover effect do? Let's try it and see what happens. Ah, see? That's cool, right? So when you put your mouse over it, the edges glow a little bit, right? So there's tons of things you can do with it. And I don't have them all memorized. Like I said, I Google things when I don't remember or when I'm trying to find new stuff. So you should do the same. Try Googling a couple things, maybe try Googling links, and play with it. Try some things out.